In 1995, one man, a 28-year-old trader sitting in a Singapore office, secretly lost more money than his entire employer was worth. And instead of coming clean, he kept gambling. Bigger, faster, more desperate. By the time anyone found out, it was too late. Barings Bank, the oldest merchant bank in Britain, the bank that had financed the Napoleonic Wars, the bank that the Queen herself banked with, was gone. Bankrupt. Sold for £1. And the man who caused all of it? His name was Nick Leeson. And what he did should be required reading for anyone who thinks they understand risk. Here's what we're going to break down today. How a working-class kid from Watford charmed his way into one of the most prestigious banks in the world. How he built a secret account that nobody knew existed. How he lost $1.3 billion. That's billion with a B. And how he almost got away with it. And more importantly, what this story means for your money right now. Because the lessons here are not just for bankers. They're for every single person trying to build wealth without blowing it up. Let's start at the beginning. Nick Leeson grew up in a working-class family in Watford, England. Not privileged, not connected. He didn't go to Oxford or Cambridge, but he was sharp, he was confident, and he had an almost reckless belief in his own ability to figure things out. He got a job at Coutts Bank as a clerk, then moved to Morgan Stanley, then landed at Barings in 1989. This is where the story really starts. Barings loved Leeson. He worked hard. He was charming. He understood the back-office operations better than most people who'd been there twice as long. So when Barings opened a futures trading operation in Singapore in 1992, they sent Leeson to run it. He was 25 years old. And here's where the first massive mistake happens. Not by Leeson, but by Barings themselves. They gave him control of both the trading desk and the back office. That means he was placing trades and reconciling those same trades. That's like letting someone grade their own exam. There was no oversight, no separation of duties. That single structural failure made everything that followed possible. At first, Leeson was actually pretty good at his job. He was making money for Barings through arbitrage, essentially exploiting tiny price differences between the Singapore and Osaka futures exchanges. Clean, legal, profitable. But then in July 1992, one of his junior traders made a small mistake and lost about £20,000. Not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. But Leeson panicked. Instead of reporting it, he hid it. He buried it in an old account number, 88888. In Chinese culture, 8 is the luckiest number. The irony of that would become very dark very quickly. That £20,000 loss should have been a blip, a conversation with a manager, a small disciplinary note. Instead, it became the seed of the biggest unauthorized trading scandal in history. Because once Leeson started hiding losses, he had to keep trading to try to win them back. And when those trades lost too, he hid those as well. The account grew, quietly, invisibly. And here's the psychological trap he fell into. The same trap that destroys regular investors all the time. It's called loss aversion compounded by ego. He couldn't admit he was wrong. The hole kept getting bigger, and his bets kept getting bigger to match it, because the only way out of his mind was to trade his way back to zero. Spoiler, it doesn't work that way. By 1993, the hidden account had losses of around £23 million. By the end of 1994, it had ballooned to £208 million. And Barings in London? They thought Singapore was their most profitable desk. They were giving Leeson bonuses. They were praising him in internal memos. They had no idea the profits he was reporting were completely fabricated. Then January 1995 happened, and everything collapsed at once. On January 17, 1995, a massive earthquake struck Kobe, Japan. The Nikkei, Japan stock market index, took a severe hit. Leeson had been betting heavily that the Nikkei would stay stable or rise. The earthquake destroyed that position overnight. His losses didn't just grow, they multiplied, exponentially. In a single month, he lost more than Barings had in assets. Leeson kept doubling down. He was buying Nikkei futures like a man in a casino who's convinced the next hand will save him. At one point, he controlled 8% of the entire Nikkei futures market. One trader, one secret account. The market didn't care. It kept falling. On February 23rd, 1995, Nick Leeson left a note on his desk that just said, "I'm sorry." And he ran. He and his wife booked flights and fled Singapore. 2 days later, Barings Bank, 233 years old, collapsed. It was bought by Dutch bank ING for the symbolic price of £1. Leeson was eventually caught in Frankfurt Airport. He was extradited to Singapore, sentenced to 6.5 years in prison, and diagnosed with colon cancer while inside. He survived. He got out early. He wrote a book. They made a movie, and he's now a public speaker about risk management. Life is strange like that. So what do you take away from this? Because this isn't just a crazy banking story. This is a masterclass in what not to do with money and risk. First, hiding a loss never makes it smaller. Every time you avoid looking at your debt, your bad investment, your overspending, it grows. The account 88888 started at £20,000. It ended at £827 million. Acknowledgement is always step one. Second, no oversight is a danger sign. Whether you're running a business, managing a portfolio, or just splitting finances with a partner, build an accountability. Someone should always be able to check your work, even your own work. Third, doubling down on a losing position is not a strategy. It's desperation wearing a suit. Whether it's a stock, a business idea, or a side hustle bleeding money, know when to cut your losses. The market doesn't reward loyalty to a bad bet. Barings Bank survived wars, financial crises, and centuries of economic chaos. It did not survive one man's refusal to admit he was wrong. The most expensive thing in finance isn't a bad trade. It's ego. If this story made you think about how you handle risk in your own finances, your investments, your emergency fund, your debt, then hit that like button and subscribe. Every week, we break down real money stories that actually teach you something. No fluff, just the stuff that changes how you think about wealth.